Unique New York. All right. We are live. What is up, everybody? I'm here with the one and only Tony Namey, self-proclaimed dating expert, master of female psychology, spiritual coach, hypnotist. And guys, so here's the thing. So we're heading full steam ahead into what's going to be an insane year, a lot of turbulence. So I figure we have a, fun episode, but at the same time, two of the biggest things that guys struggle with is finances and dating. So I figured, why not bring on the best that is out there? Tony, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. With an intro like that, you have to feel good.
You gotta live up to it.
That's it. All right, I'm gonna bring it. Bring some gems to this crowd.
So when did you become a self-proclaimed dating coach?
So that started about 12 years ago. You
got a crazy life, Tony.
Oh, totally.
Every day I find out more and more about you. By the way, guys, yeah. Tony is our booking master at Valuetainment, probably one of the most impressive booking lineups of the year of any podcast in the world. So I forgot to mention that. And you were the top salesman at BMW. So a master of persuasion and psychology all around.
Well, I don't want to say I was the top. I want to be accurate. So I had the highest income close. So when somebody would goes online and says, I want to buy this car, I worked for AutoNation, the world's largest automotive retailer. So in Southern California, I had the highest closing percentage at one point while I was there of any car brand under their umbrella. So I was selling people cars online and doing a fantastic job because I'm a master of persuasion.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. Because I mean, whether it's sales, whether it's dating, whether it's booking, it's all about like knowing the right things to say to people and knowing how the mind operates. So again, back to it. What was the journey like of you becoming a dating coach or finding out that was something you're good at? Were you just a natural or did you have to develop it? What's up?
Oh, no, I had to develop it. You know how some guys are just born charismatic?
Yeah.
Something that was not me. So I had to cultivate. But that's good for the people watching this who are having issues. They can realize it doesn't matter. No matter where you are, you can start to get better if you start to apply the right mindset, the right strategies. And well, I guess, the right mindset and strategies, you combine those two. And it's potent. You can change your life. So I mean, my friends and I, obviously we're curious about women. We started going to nightclubs in our teens in Tijuana, actually. We used to give ourselves, so we'd give ourselves tasks to do. At first, it was like, small stuff. Like we're not leaving until everybody talks to one girl. Then it was, we're not leaving until everybody talks to 5 girls. Now we're not leaving until everybody kisses at least 1 girl. And so you just kept building on it. And so what happened was I became really good at talking to women at night and in, bar and club settings, but during the day I was no good at it. And so because we have things, by the way, for those watching this, you want to examine your beliefs. We have ideas that we're told are okay, things that we're told that are okay to do and things that we're told aren't. So in my mind, I thought, okay, talking to a woman at a club at night, all right. Talking to a woman during the day, not socially acceptable. And so you want to be aware of what what ideas you have going on, or at least ask yourself, like, why does this make me nervous? Or why am I good in this area, but not in this? What's going on behind the scenes? So for me, I remember I approached this woman during the day once and it went really good. And then I didn't know how to end the interaction. So that it kind of fell flat. And so I went home and I Googled, I looked up how to get a woman's phone number during the day. And I came across this player. His name was Paul Janka. He was a New York pickup artist. The guy used to keep Excel spreadsheets of how many women he had slept with. And so he taught this method called the movie trailer concept, where you come on really strong. You have like a smooth line. You look good. You get the woman's interest. And just like a movie trailer, it catches your attention in the first 60 seconds and then it cuts it off, making you want more. That's what I would do. So I'd have this a strong opener. I'd look well. And then right after I'd get a certain amount of attention from the woman or a certain amount of flow going, I would cut it off, making her wonder who was that guy that just came up and approached me so confidently.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, just so for anybody, because there's a little mix of people saying nice and not so nice things in the comments, but people haven't witnessed when we go out, you're one of those guys who just see a hot chick and you'll run across the street to go get that number, or at least try to get the number. So and I've seen stats of I think 50 to 70% of guys are afraid to walk up to a girl and ask for a girl's number, but most girls badly want that. And it's like the most attractive thing a guy could do. So, I mean, it's like a really kind of flip of your mentality. Like you're saying, like once you do, it's like riding a bike where it's like you're excited to do rather than petrified about doing it.
Exactly, because you have to flip what's going on in your subconscious. You want to associate so much pain to not approaching women and so much pleasure to approaching them. Guys who have high anxiety when they approach a woman, it's because they have it the opposite. When they go to talk to a woman, they build it up in their mind as this big scary thing, and their subconscious is trying to keep your subconscious at all time is trying to keep you safe. And so for them, if talking to a woman is a scary thing and they think it's going to result in something bad, their subconscious stops them, tells them, no. So if you want to rewire that, just grab a pen and paper. It's simple to do. Write out, what is all the pain I feel by not approaching the women I want? And spend a few minutes really writing that out. And for a lot of guys, they're feeling a lot of pain. As you said, I think it's more than 50% of guys haven't approached a woman in the last year. So imagine what kind of horrible, lonely, shallow lives these guys are at home, frustrated, probably playing video games, getting high, when they could be out using that masculine energy to attract beautiful women. So spend a few minutes really making yourself feel like shit, and then shake yourself off, and then write out, what is all the pleasure I'll feel by approaching the women that I want? And spend 5 to 10 minutes writing that out, visualizing that, seeing it, and feeling it. And what's going to happen is your subconscious is going to start to shift. It's going to start to see approaching women is good, because it is good. It's your job as a man to approach women so that the species will continue. So you want to be good at your job. So spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes doing that, and do it a few times if necessary, so it really gets hardwired in. And then one thing I'll say, though, for a lot of guys, it's scary to them because they don't know what to do. It's like if I've done martial arts for a long time. So if I get into a street fight, I mean, God forbid I ever do, I have a certain amount of training, so I know what to do how to handle myself in that situation. With pickup, a lot of these guys have no training. If they see a pretty woman, they're not sure how to approach her, what to say, how to handle the interaction. And so two things I would recommend. One, practice a strong opener. You should have some type of opening line that you say that just works well for you. Like a friend of mine, he always, if he sees a woman, he says, "Hey, I think you're really cute. My name is so-and-so." I won't say his name right now. I ran over because I wanted to meet you. And then he smiles big. He looks her in the eyes. He shakes her hand. And then she goes, "Oh, thank you." And then he starts chatting her up. So whatever that line is, have some type of canned line, so to speak, that you always have in your back pocket that you can use. You don't want to have to just come up with something on the fly, unless you're really good at improv. And the second thing is, in the middle of a conversation, one issue that a lot of guys have is they say, "Tony, I didn't know what to say, or I ran out of things to talk about." Practice improv. See something in your surroundings and just improv about it. Like, for instance, me and you, what you're wearing. Oh, USA, it's the best country in the world. I love America. My family's from Iraq. And I could just improv off that into different subjects. So practice that, develop being able to talk and have good conversational skills, and you'll see that your interactions with women improve. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's great stuff. So people in the comment section, do me a favor, put the number 1 if you've cold approached somebody in the last 3 months, say. Put the number 2 if you have not. Because I just think it's like you have so much more control over the situation. It's like much more satisfying. I'm gonna show you a chart that like really shows how things are going today. I found it shocking when I came across it, but like it shows exactly what you're talking about. And I don't think this is a good direction for society ahead. And so you see this? So it shows how couples meet from like 1995 till today. And look at how the online thing shoots up like crazy over the last 20 years. And this is only
because it's easy. You don't have to.
Yeah, right. It's like not scary or whatever, but that's toxic. Like you have such little control over the situation, and like I don't know. Like I feel like what you run into online is like much less, I guess, I don't know, like high quality than what you could potentially run into out in public.
It varies. I've met some amazing women online, and some women that I wouldn't normally have access to in my everyday life. So if you know how to leverage yourself online, it can work for you amazingly. But every day you're walking around all these women, these potential opportunities that could uplift your life and uplift their lives, and you're just letting them just come in and out of your life. It's like if you're a businessman and you were just walking by dollars all day long and you were just passing them up, it would make no sense. And so as a man, you want to develop this ability so you can make the absolute most of your life. Most men have no concept or no real idea of how incredible their dating lives could be if they just practiced, or what I want to say, just put some time into this area of their life. It could be incredible. The results in as little as 6 months could completely astound them.
Oh yeah. And just imagine if like, I don't know, you're like in a job or situation where you're like out in public life, you go up to 5 girls a day and ask for their numbers and say like you get one for every 5 that you ask, you end up with 5 numbers at the end of the week. And like that's most likely going to turn to something fruitful.
Let's do that math on that. So you get 5 numbers every week. You'll probably sleep with 1 woman every week. That's 4 women a month. That's 48 women a year. You're in the top 1% of women by approaching 5 women a week. I mean, it's that simple. I had a friend of mine. I made him how many people did I make him approach? I think I made him approach like 80 women, right? There's that saying, if you approach 100 women, by the time you've approached 100, not that I want every person to have to approach 100, but by the time you've approached 100 women, you've seen pretty much everything that could be thrown at you, like the good, the bad, the ugly. And by the time you've approached, let's say 20 or 30 women, you'll start to see what works, what doesn't, and it'll just become easier and easier and easier. And so you'll develop attraction faster, your interactions will go smoother, and your results will be better.
Yeah, and in terms of like just the like the social sciences, it's like not just a dating thing, it's like an everything thing. Like you want to be able to have the ability to be captivating and like walk up with somebody and captivate them, like whether you're trying to get a job, whether you're trying to I got really comfortable doing this when I started doing the man on the street things, because like it's the most ridiculous situation ever where you're just like some dude with your friend following you around with a camera and like you're just trying to get people who are like going into a nightclub to talk to you for a second. Like, that's like way more embarrassing than just asking somebody for their number, because that's actually normal to do and that's expected.
I agree. And also breaks you out of your shell, and then that translates to other areas of your life. Suddenly you're more confident in business. And when you have women in your life, or for those of you who just want a woman in your life, when you have one, it doesn't matter what's going on in your world. If that relationship is good and your sex life is good, you feel good about everything else. Like you could have a shitty day at work, then you come home, there's a beautiful woman in your kitchen making you food, and you have some incredible sex. Suddenly, whatever happened at work is not such a big deal anymore. So, feminine energy is healing energy. It's nurturing, it's uplifting to us, and it allows us to go out into the world and just conquer. So you want that. So a lot of guys are stifling, not a lot of guys, 50% of men are stifling themselves by not developing these traits or this ability.
So when you were like helping guys out and coaching them, because you had a channel that you were doing that with for a while, so what was some of like the biggest things that the guys are saying that they were struggling with, or that they, I don't know, like had problems with, or that they were encountering that was like obstructing them from doing what they wanted to do?
A few things. One, I don't think they realize how easy it is in the sense that I'll explain what I mean by this. The more you do on the front end, the less you have to do on the back end. So if you look good when you approach a woman, meaning you have a nice style that suits you, your hygiene is good, and then if you speak well with a good opener, all of that is going to have a cumulative effect. It's not going to set off any red flags, so to speak. The woman's going to say, oh, this guy's well put together. I'll give him a chance, and he'll do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So a lot of these guys would come in out of shape. They're completely unkempt. So you just right away, and I would ask them. I remember one time I said, who here wants to date models? And a bunch of guys raised their hand. And I said, hey, I'm going to pick on you for a second. I had this guy stand up, and I said, did you just roll out of bed and come here? And he said, yeah. And I said, let me guess, you didn't even fix your hair. You just got up and came here. And he said, yeah, his hair was all a mess. And I said, you just raised your hand and said that you want to meet a model. I said, do you see what kind of discrepancy there's going to be between you and her? A lot of women put a lot of effort into how they look before they go out. So at least do the bare minimum. Obviously, if your skills get good enough, they can compensate for the differential. But in the meantime, get in shape. This is basic stuff. Get in shape, develop a style that works for you, develop a smooth rap. That's the easy part is, getting front loaded. Second, I would say their mindset. A lot of guys come in with just crazy ideas about women and about what is and what isn't possible. So I have to so I would say the first part is the hardware. The second part is the software. Just getting rid of all the nonsense that's in their subconscious. And a lot of them they picked up from their parents. They were kids,
society too, because it's like we've been conditioned to like think like, oh, it's bad. It's like like toxic masculinity to like go up and like be direct about what you want.
Or women are these like dainty creatures that aren't sexual beings, when in reality, women are super sexual, maybe even more so than guys, if you know how to hit the right attraction triggers. And so I would say the first part is the actual physical, then the second part is the mental, and then the third is just the actual strategies. What do I say when I see a woman I like? How do I keep a conversation going? How do I stand? For instance, I would put a new guy, I'd have him approach a woman, and she would lean in because she's interested, and he's never had a woman express interest. So he would start to lean back So the woman would think, oh, he's not interested. And so she'd start to lean back. Next thing you know, it ends up breaking the interaction because the energy is going outwards as opposed to inwards.
And that's a great way to kind of tell if there's interest or not, too, right? Like if you do the opposite of that and you like lean in, like they also lean in, then it's a good sign, right?
Yeah, when they start to mirror you, that's a good sign, and then it starts to develop rapport with them. Also, that's a great point. Is a lot of guys miss IOI's indicators of interest. I have somebody that I know. He's tall. He drives me crazy. He's tall. He's good looking. When we go out, women just like pretty much like go gaga over him. Like they look at him and they fix their hair and they're like, and I'll even say things like, "Hey, do you think my friend is cute?" And they go, "Yeah, he's so handsome." And my friend is like totally clueless. They're like, "No, she's just being polite or she's just being nice." And so you want to look for those indicators. If you're a guy who doesn't like the cold approach, then just warm approach. See, just look for those women who are interested in you, that the ones that look at you and smile and fix their hair, or they stare at you too long, or it's called like they'll look at you and they'll do it. I don't know what you want to what I would call it, but they kind of do like a prolonged shuffle. Instead of just walking, they stop for a second and slide. It's a subconscious. A woman actually pointed it out to me. It's a subconscious cue that she's slowing down so you can talk to her. So
wow,
signs like that, and then obviously what to say when you actually approach her. You can go direct or indirect depending on what you're more comfortable with. Direct being, "Hey, I thought you're really pretty. My name's Tony, and I wanted to meet you." Or indirect, you can just ask her about something going on in your surroundings, and then you can start a conversation from there.
Yeah, gotcha. And by the way, guys, like I'm seeing a lot of people in the comments like making saucecast jokes. This is not, nor will it ever be anything like saucecast. I'm more likely to become a globalist than for that to happen. But this is an important thing because we need to repopulate the earth. Like the birth rate's down to 1.7%. We need to be at least 2.3% for us to maintain the level we need to be at. So part of that is the like social weirdness that's been kind of like embedded into us because of all the digital stuff today. So this is an important issue. We're not like doing no red pill shit. This is just straight up psychology. It's a hugely
important issue. As a man, it's your job. You need to be able to go out and hunt. You want to be able to provide, so to speak. And Adam is good with women. That people can love him or hate him, but the guy has beautiful women with him nonstop. And a lot of these guys would freaking trade their left nut to be able to live the life that he lives. So,
100%. I think that's why he gets a lot of hate.
Go walk a mile in his shoes. It'll be a good mile.
That's funny. Tell that story about the Apple store the other day, quick. I love what you did there. That's a great example of what you're trying to preach to people.
Yeah, so I'm with our boy Umberto, and we're walking by the Apple store, and I see this really beautiful Brazilian woman inside the store. So I walk up and I go, "Excuse me," and she goes, "Yes." And I said, "There's something wrong with my phone. Can you help me?" And she goes, "Sure. What is it?" And I said, "It's missing your number." And she goes, "Oh, that was good." And then she gives me her phone number. So it's like stuff like that. Like it's playful. Women like it. And
even if she hates you, she has to give you her number there because it's like a war crime not to give you your number with you being like that fast and that good on the spot. It's almost like, okay, like you win.
It's smooth. And girls like that. And they tell their friends like, "Oh, I met this guy. He was so funny." And you want to be non-threatening, just unassuming. Like, "Oh, he's fun. He's, like, he seems like he'd be a good time." And that's, how that interaction worked. I'm thinking I did 2 approaches prior to that. So,
and that same night.
Yeah. One, how did I approach them? It was a group of 3. And I think I just said, "Hey, you ladies look stunning. Tell me what's the plans for tonight?" And they said, "Oh, we just went to dinner. We're going here." And I said, before you ladies head out, give me your info to the one I liked. She's like, "Oh, sure. Take it down." And then there was another. It's like, picture like 20 to 30 women, right? They're all dressed up. And I see this just like sea of women walking towards me. They're all, like 9s and 10s. So most guys are just staring at them. And I'm like, "Oh, I got to say something." Literally, imagine 30 women walking at you, all look amazing. I said, "All right, ladies, hold it, stop." I said, "What is happening here? I need to know what's going on. All of you look amazing." They're like, "Oh, it's her birthday." And I'm like, "All right, what are we doing to celebrate?" And then from there, it's me. So I wish I had taken a photo of it because I was just completely outnumbered by all these beautiful ladies. So it was a great place to be.
Oh, that's awesome. So, do you notice any big differences of how these things go from the time you were like in your 20s till now?
It's always been fun, but I find it's easier now because
But like how they
guys
receive it. Oh, so do you feel like you have an edge now because less guys do this?
exactly. So less guys are doing it. So women are more surprised when it happens to them, which is surprising to me because I thought, oh, as I got older, it's going to be harder. And then women are more receptive. So I'm like, oh, this is really surprising. So a lot of the guys have lowered the bar, so to speak. And so it makes it easier and easier.
Do they ever like overtly say things like that, like to indicate like, oh wow, like I wish this happened more often? Like I'll always like look at a dude and give indicators.
Oh yeah, you totally made my day. I've never had this happen before. I'm so happy you approached me. I can't wait to tell so and so, things like that.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. And now how so this skill set, did this come before you became good at sales, or were you good at sales before you developed this? Or did
I
like
developed
one help the other?
Yeah, one helped the other. So I started doing this. I told you I came across the Paul Janka stuff. It was how to get a woman's number during the day, and he just laid out this simple method. So I said, man, I wonder if this works. And I was working at this Mexican supermarket at the time, so I started doing it with all the cute customers that would come in. I would joke them up. I'd say some jokes, then tell them, hey, you seem cool. We got to hang out. Give me your number. I'll give you a call. Something like that. I would joke with them and then end it on once it would going good, I would just end it fast. And they'd all be like, yeah. And I ended up getting, I think, 16 or 18 numbers during that week. And then I was like, oh, wow. Okay, cool. Let me go to the mall and try this out. And then I kept doing that. And then I went to this pickup guy was having a seminar, like a 3-day seminar. And so I went to his seminar. And then after that, I just went full blast into it, reading everything I get my hands on, going to every single talk by some people who are amazing, people you've never heard of, going to all of them, because if they give me even one gem, like one little bit, that could change my whole life. So I went and studied from everybody I could get my hands on. And then one thing that really helped me is I went and did comedy improv, and that just helped take everything to another level. So now suddenly you can keep a conversation going, but then it's real fun and flirty with the girls. And so it just humor is the best lubricant. So it just streamlined everything.
Yeah, you are really good being naturally funny. Like even like comedians at our place, like Rob and Vinny, will say that. They'll say like I can't believe like the shit that you just come up with like on the cuff like that. So that is good advice. I want to do that too. Like try to go the improv stuff. Or like I feel like that's like just a life skill to be able to like be quick on your feet and know like what to say, and then if you're funny when you know like what to say on the spot, and that's even bigger bonus.
Exactly. And you want to interject humor into any interaction every minute or 30 seconds or so, because it just continually captures the person's attention you're engaging with. So it makes it fun. And for the woman, she's out with you, you're joking, you go from one spot to the next, just having fun, joking. So it seems like she's just on this amazing adventure, and women want an adventure. They're at their boring lives, not all of them. I'm not trying to be insulting, but they're in an office setting all day, listening to their coworkers talk about their lives. They want to go out and have an adventure of their own. So as a man, go take her on one. Go have fun.
Right. Especially with how monotonous things could be, like with like the average person's life. Like if you have an office job and you just go in and like 70 to 80% of the day is like exactly the same as the last day before. Like imagine how much that stands out if like that never happens to a hot girl. And that's the thing too. Like, that's a good question. Like have like straight up tens ever said that to you? Like it's true that they get approached far less than even, like an average looking girls, right? Like the hottest girls out there are normally the most lonely.
Exactly. Two things. One, you'd be surprised at how many women are home during the week because either A, no one's asked them out, or B, they have anxiety about going out because they've had some bad dates. And so they're not sure if they should try it again. And one of my exes, she's one of the hottest women I've ever seen in my life, super hot. And she told me she rarely gets approached. And if she does, it's typically by guys who aren't attractive, that she's not into. And she said the reason being is those guys who are attractive, they don't want to get rejected because it'll hurt their ego, or at least that's my theory about it. And so she said they typically will just walk by and just stare at her and maybe smile, but not actually go up. So you have a huge competitive edge if you're willing to make that advance. And approaching women today is a small risk, high reward game.
Oh,
so you can spend 2 minutes talking to a woman, and it could lead to a long-term relationship. It could lead to kids. It could lead to an amazing night of sex, a fun vacation. All this good can come from it. By the way, do you see in my mind, I associate approaching with good.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm willing to go up and talk to the women that I like. And so for men, it's such a small thing. A few words, 60 to 90 seconds of conversation, a few texts can completely change the trajectory of your life for the better.
And there's nothing like the pain of the regret of like walking by a smoke show and like, you know, not making yourself do it. And then like the rest of the day, maybe even the rest of the week, you're like, oh, you fucking idiot. What
Oh,
the
it is the worst. I still remember, I remember this woman from like years ago. And I still remember it in my head, and it kills me every time I think about her. I had just gotten back from Acapulco, and depending on where you're from in the world, and I went to get some photos developed. And she was like, "Hey, you seem like you're having a good day. Like, you know, what are you up to?" And just talking to me. She waited outside to talk to me more, and I was like so out of it or untrained, I would say rather.
Wait, how old were you?
I think I was like, I don't know, 20 something at the time. I was in my mid 20s. There was no excuse for it. Like zero excuse. Every time I think about it, it bothers me. Like that poor girl. Like shame on me. Somebody should have fucking came and like whipped me or maybe do push-ups in the street for disrespecting that poor girl. Like she put herself out there so bad. And yeah, I just let that one go. And it still haunts me. So yeah, to add to your point, I had that happen the other day. A girl, I wasn't like in my mojo, I was in work mode. I was like, I have to go buy this, and I have to go do this, and I gotta get this deadline. And this girl looks at me and she smiles and she goes does the fixes her hair. And I was like, shit. And it was like the circuits were scrambling, and I didn't do it. And then the rest of the day I was like, oh my God, I could have totally talked to that woman right there. And then yeah.
Oh man.
I felt it. I went back and just felt the pain of.
No, and I feel you on that. So I went to an all boys high school, so there was like a good amount of time where like if I was going to see girls, I had to like really work for it. Then especially like when I didn't have a car for the first few years of high school, like it was rare that I would get to be around girls and interact with girls. So there was like a short period in my freshman year of high school where like, you know, I'm just like thrown into college, and it's like the first like I'm like, wow, there's hot girls on me all the time, and like I had that like feeling at first, like, like why am I like hesitating when I like see a hot chick and like want to talk to her? Like, why am I freezing? Why am I hesitating? And like, you know, I kind of went through that process of like forcing myself to do it. Luckily I had a friend group who like, you know, were just dogs and did exactly that. So, you know, I trained up and like got used to it. And like, it's the best feeling. Like once you get over that, cause there's like, I can't think of anything worse. That's like more like of an ego. Like you think it's an ego blow to get rejected. It's an ego blow to not have the courage to go up and do it. Like that's what really makes you feel like shit, at least for me during that time.
I agree. And every time you don't do it, you're training yourself for failure. You're teaching yourself like, oh, okay, this is going to be my default setting, which is what you don't want. Every time you do it, I feel like you're making a deposit. And every time you don't, you're just withdrawing. And eventually you're going to get yourself into debt and be in a horrible place. Also, you said two things that I want to discuss.
Yeah.
One, you said there was that hesitancy. It's okay to have that hesitancy, but just don't let it run you. You know, I still feel the nerves, but if you take those nerves and you act on it, that nervousness becomes enthusiasm, and then you get super pumped up to do more and more and more. So that's why I recommend when you go out at first, just talk to the first person that you see, chat them up a little bit, and that nerves will become excitement, enthusiasm, and then it'll just have you pumped up for the rest of your night. That was one. And two, you want to be aware of your peer group. And I'll give you an example. I had one guy that I was friends with. When we go out, he'd tell me, you know, I want to go approach him and he said, oh, Tony, probably shouldn't have talked to her. She's probably got a boyfriend. She's probably busy. These are all the stories that he tells himself, by the way. And so then I had another friend I would go out with who was just like, a dog isn't a strong enough word. A wolf, I don't know what you want to call him. This guy would say like, like, go, bro. You got it. Oh, she's going to be like gushing if you talk to her. But she's going to be so excited. She's going to be like, man, you're going to make her day. Watch. Go. And he'd be super pumped up.
Good
and if there was
right
2 or
there.
3 of them, he'd go with me. And if I talked to her and I didn't get her number, when I come back, he'd go, oh, she's probably a lesbian. Like, man, forget her. Like, oh, she's so stupid. And so he would just continuously pump me up. And every time I was around him, it was fun and easy to meet women. And we would meet, you know, we were in LA running around. And so we'd meet these like super dime pieces, and it was always a blast. So be aware of your peer group, what effect they're having on you.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, that kind of goes into the thing of like affirmations or like affirming yourself. Cause like, I know you're a big believer in that. And I've been trying to adopt that too. Cause even Pat talks about it a lot. So like, I mean, you know, like all these highly credible people, like even the Napoleon Hill stuff talks about that. So, you know, I'm not going to, you know, shit on stuff like that's coming from people that like were highly successful and did exactly what they want to do. So, I mean, it's like the story you tell yourself or like the reality that you perceive like ends up becoming your reality. So if you're like giving yourself this reality of like, you know, doubt and hesitancy versus like the reality of like, you know, you could make anything happen that you want to have happen, then like it's going to go one of those two ways, whichever reality you cast for yourself.
Totally. And it gives you this feeling. So if you can have any reality for yourself, pick one that works for you. And I want to give you two stories on the power of affirmations. So one, I had a friend of mine who he told me he hadn't had sex in like, let's say like 2 or 3 months, right? He was getting really frustrated. He said, Tony, I haven't had sex in a few months. I don't know what to do. And I said, what do you mean? I said, you're the sex machine. And he's like, no, like, don't call me that. Like, you know, and I said, no, you're the sex machine, man. Women love you. So I started hyping him up. I see him the next day and I'm like, oh, there's a sex machine. Tell me, who'd you sleep with? And he's like, Tony, man, you're just, but the first day he's saying, no. The second day he's like, man, Tony. Third day, I'm like, oh, there's the sex machine. And he's like, that's right. I'm going to get laid 3 days. The third day he got laid. And
Come
then
on.
he ended up sleeping with, I think, 3 women in like 1 week or 2 weeks. And he was like, oh, man, I am the sex machine. And then he started calling himself that when we go out. I'm the sex machine. Women want me. So it's just a simple shit. People will think, oh, that's just a coincidence. But it's not. I started planting the seed and watering it. And at first he didn't accept it. And then finally he started believing it and giving it to himself. And then that became his reality. The second one is I knew this guy. We'll call him John G, just to leave him anonymous. Okay. My boy John. At the time of us meeting, I think he had slept with 848 women.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. The guy was insane.
How old was he at the time?
Shoot, 30 something in his mid-30s. Okay. Yeah. So he used to sleep with like, let's say, you know, not anything too crazy, but like let's say at least 4 women a month. Right?
Yeah.
But if you just do that math over years and years and years, it just builds up until it becomes this outrageous number. So, but going back to affirmations, before we'd go out, he would look at himself in the mirror. So he had a bathroom in his bedroom, and he would tell himself, he looks himself in the mirror and he'd go, that's the guy that's going to have a woman in that bed tonight. That's the guy that's going to have a woman in that bed tonight. And he would say it over and over, and he would just repeat it. And then sure enough, he'd end up pulling some beautiful woman into his bed that night. The guy, we used to call him endless energy, because he just wanted to go out nonstop, because he had associated going out to massive amounts of pleasure. The guy's been with 800 women. So he knew if he just went out long enough, he would end up finding some woman that he liked or that liked him. Another thing he would do, I've never seen any other guy do. Let's say there's 3 of us, right? Yeah. Or 2 of us. And we're talking to one woman, not that we would want to stay in this imbalanced interaction, but let's say for whatever reason, there's 1 woman, there's 2 of us. He would look at whichever one of us the woman likes more, and he would tell one of us, hey, you're out. Whether you opened the interaction or you didn't, meaning you started it. If he saw that she liked the friend more or you more, he would get the other one out of there immediately and then just leave the 2 that had chemistry, and things would usually go smooth.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely an interesting character. But he had what I mentioned earlier. He had the front part super loaded, meaning he dressed really nice. He had a good job, so he made money. He had a really good style that worked for him. So he was already attractive to women, and he would look to see, you know, which woman is interested in when we would go out. And then he was a really good dancer. He used to be a break dancer. So he could take any woman on the dance floor and he'd spin them around, do all this stuff. And then he was really, really good in an interaction. He was super funny. And one thing he would do is that a lot of guys don't do nowadays is he would call every woman. And so that's like a lot.
I like that.
Yeah. And so he used to drive for work long distances. And so he would call women. He's super funny. So he'd be joking them up. They'd be laughing. Then he would invite them to his house for the first date. Instead of taking them out, he would invite them over for dinner. And then he would end up sleeping with pretty much like 90% of them. And I remember this guy was so crazy. We were at the auto show in Detroit, and we went up to where the high-end cars are, and there's a model there, and all the men are staring at this model, and she would take photos with the guys by the car. Super beautiful. We walk up, and she goes to John. She goes, oh, hey, how are you? And he goes, girl, get out of here. And she's like, no, I'm sorry. And he goes, you were supposed to come over yesterday. You didn't come over. Stop playing. Tony, let's go. And he's not really walking away. He's just pretending like she's mad. And she comes up, like, grabs him by the arm, and she's like, no, I promise I'll come over tonight. I'm so sorry. And by the way, he's super short. He's only 5'3". So for all you guys who say, like, oh, I'm not tall enough, whatever. That's all bullshit. That is a limiting belief. It's a BS, like it's a bullshit belief, a belief system. And sure enough, he ended up with her, or he had her. And so we were all shocked. So yeah, 5'3". He used to wear those shoes to make
the DeSantis shoes.
Yeah, and he would like put them on. He's like, all right, I gotta wear these because they give me a little bit. And I'm like, bro, 5'3", 5'5", nobody's gonna give a damn. But he was incredible. So for those guys who are short, the short kings, don't let it phase you. You can get in there.
Wow. So, all right. So guys, any questions for Tony? Because I promised him I'd only keep him for a half hour tonight. But we're talking about the notion of possibly having a Tony Tuesday segment, a nice half hour each week. And because I see crazy stuff every week of like whether it's like dating things or things that girls are doing, like that chick that hooked up with 100 dudes in one day, like last week or something. Like what the hell's going on with that psychologically while people are drumming up questions for you?
It makes me think it's like the degradation of society. If men were on their A game, they would never allow shit like this to happen. It means men have become so weak that the feminine is almost like out of control, just doing whatever it is that it wants. And so this is just ridiculous. Like they need to step up and really be men and go after what they want, so that women will fall into their traditional roles, so to speak. That's just insanity to me. And I don't know where that girl's father was at.
Yeah, well, her mother was cheering her on. Like her mother's going on shows like talking about how proud of her she is. Like,
I mean, her mother's probably like that too. It's just
are they possessed by demons or something?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's
sorry, it was 1,000 guys. Apparently, somebody corrected me.
1,000 guys. Okay, so let's say each one did 1 minute, right? So it's 1,000 minutes. So how many hours is that? Over 10 hours of guys just thinking. Somebody correct my math on this, but
it sounds like a 24-hour thing. So let's see how many minutes are in a day. 60 times 24.
And shame on those guys. Imagine you're number 9.
Right, like what, you're in a line. Just,
yeah, repulsive. Are you that desperate to have sex that you're going to go do something disgusting like that? So I don't agree with it whatsoever.
Let's see real quick. So 24 times 60. That's 1,400 minutes. So let's say, every guy took a minute and a half. That'd be 24 hours straight of bam, bam, bam.
Stop.
No, it's disgusting. But yeah, so I guess, like we talk about culture a lot. And I guess like the fact that culture doesn't like just violently reject that, like, I mean, figuratively violently reject that and vehemently reject it. Like, I think that's a problem. Like the fact that it's like a split on people's opinion about that. And I don't know if that's the top down thing or if that's like a degradation of society, like the strong men building good times and good times building weak men and so on, or if it's like a concerted effort from the, I guess, like elites or the people who are trying to degrade society.
I'm with you on that. I think it's a concerted effort to get men to be weak to accept this kind of behavior, because these women are not going to be the type that are either going to have kids, and if they do, they're not going to be the type that are going to listen to a man or keep a man in the household. I can't imagine some guy staying with a woman like that long term. So that's my thoughts on that whole thing. Obviously, anyone can do whatever they want; they have the right to. But in like fashion, we have the right to criticize that which we think is immoral.
100%. Somebody said, "How long you have to know a female before calling it a thing between both?" So I guess like how long?
I would say so. There's just a general rule of thumb. If you're seeing her 3 days a week or more, then she's your girl, whether you guys put something on it or not. If you're seeing
3 days a week for like a month, or what? Like, so like 3 days a week for how long?
It doesn't matter if it's a month, if it's 2 months or whatever. But once you guys start seeing each other with that type of frequency, then she's pretty much your girl. If it's like once a week, I wouldn't. It's still too casual for me to call it anything, unless you both agree. Does that answer that guy's question?
Yeah. So just like frequency of seeing each other, like even if it's like 2 weeks of like hanging out a few times, like so. Are you more skeptical these days of girls talking to other guys than you were in the past? Like, because I feel like even though you like look and sound
so
like
dumb, I believe it's me. So if I'm like really in on a woman, like I make my intentions clear up front. And so she knows, all right, this guy's about me. We're dating for this. And so if I'm into her and I'm talking to her long term, which I am talking to somebody long term. So that, if the clearer you are up front, the less likely any of that stuff is going to happen. Now, if you just go out there casually, you're not sure what it is that you want. You're not sure what it is that she wants. I feel like that opens it up to her talking to other guys and so on. Also, you want to know what type of woman you're dealing with, where she's at in her life. Is she at the party phase of her life? Is she a woman who wants to settle down and get married? So you want to know what type of woman it is and where she's at in her life, and not confuse the two. If she's in the party phase of her life and you think you're going to get her to settle down, you're going to be in for a rude awakening 9 times out of 10. Or you might get her to settle down for a little bit, but she's going to get bored because she won't, might have just been in a relationship and wants to go out and have fun. So you have to be, you have to have some, what's the word I'm looking for? Some
discretion.
Some awareness. That's the word. Yeah. So you have some discretion as to what's taking place.
Now, is it a red flag for you if a girl slept with more than 10 guys? Because, like you've heard the thing, like the science-based argument that there's like an effect of, like when a girl loses her virginity, they have the attachment chemical release, and then like each time they have sex with a different dude, that's like less potent. Have you like seen anything to indicate that that's true?
So I have mixed feelings. One, so obviously it's easier if you're with a woman who doesn't have that belief system that's going to lead her to sleep with 10 guys. Like if you find somebody, like I'm thinking of the woman I'm talking to, she's Asian, her number, I'm not going to say it, but it's, it's near 0,
oh, good. I thought you were going the other direction.
Yeah. And so you want to find, if you can, you find somebody whose belief system isn't going to lead them to that. But I would say if she has, well, here, I want to give an example. I know she had done porn before, but that lifestyle made her so sick. When I got her into spirituality and self-development, she realized her low self-esteem had been caught. She grew up in this super crazy environment. And so when she finally started doing some self-examination, she left all that, started working on herself, got a stable job. Now she's married and have kids. So it depends on the woman too, where she's at in her life. Some women, they'll, having slept with a lot of men, it causes them to never be able to form a strong bond. Others, they get so disgusted with having lived that lifestyle that they never want to do that again, and they want to have something real. So it depends on the woman.
Gotcha. Have you ever read the book The Art of Seduction, Robert Greene?
No, I'm not. I'm not a big
Robert Greene
works. I feel like it's more
really. Wow, it's a hot take.
Not at all. I feel like it's more manipulation rather than authenticity. And if you're trying to manipulate people all day long, it comes from a place of fear, just basically a place of fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like that's like we talk about the powers that be. I feel like that's the place they want you to be in, is like a place of fear and doubt. So I mean, like as much as like this feels like just a strictly dating thing, it's like an everything thing. Because like I said, like 2 biggest pain points for guys: financial and dating, or whatever, love life, whatever you want to call it. And like this mindset, I feel like addresses both things, like the abundance mindset, like the attack, the go after mindset, and like just killing off that hesitancy mindset.
I agree. And a lot of guys are in this, they have this unfortunate belief that if they make a lot of money, they'll be successful enough that women will want them, and that part of their life will suddenly be solved. So you have these rich guys that suddenly have no idea how to interact with people or how to interact with women. So they're even more frustrated. They're working 60 to 90 hours a week and still not getting the results they want in life.
Right. Like, because like, look at all these rich dudes who end up getting like busted, like doing stuff with prostitutes or whatever. Like, so why do you think that? Like, I can't tell you how many times I've heard of that, of like a dude who's like good looking, makes a lot of money, but is socially awkward and still can't get laid. And like, imagine how frustrating that would be to like think that like you just had to get to that point and then you'd have it all. But then there's dudes that don't have a job, that are like somewhat ugly and just slay.
Exactly. Yeah. They have no cares about it, but also they're not those guys that are ugly, that have no job, that are slaying. It's because they don't have in their head, I need to have all this criteria met before I can get laid. And another thing that they're doing well is that, so that guy who is like well put together and well dressed in the sense that like he has his life together towards marriage, women will see him and think, if he doesn't have a good rap, they'll say, I'm going to marry him, so therefore I won't sleep with him. I won't be sledding with him.
Wow.
That was, remember I told you I went to all these pickup events, and I like, even if there were guys weren't well known, there was this one guy there who I remember, he looked like a dirty rock and roller. He had long hair. He had this beard. I remember his shirt was even dirty. And he said no women would date him long term because of his look. And at the time I was clean shaven. I wore a lot of cologne. I had this nice like little haircut. And every woman I would go out with would tell me like they want to be my girlfriend. They wouldn't want to sleep with me.
Oh, shit.
So when I saw him, it was like a light bulb went off, and I grew my hair and I grew my beard, and then I stopped giving as much of a shit. I started changing what I talked about with women, And then after that, it was everyone would sleep with me and not want to enter a relationship with me. And so
wow.
so I was like, man, that worked great. And then you want to obviously find the right balance for you, depending on where you're at in your life or where to, like what end of the spectrum you want to be on. But that was something interesting. So what is your look, or what does it convey to women?
So what you said you would change what you talked about, and it had that impact. So what was the difference of what you talked about when you were like the ideal boyfriend versus the ideal hookup?
So a woman will ask you, what are you looking for? And so before I'd say, oh, I'm looking for, like a good woman or a girlfriend or some, and once that shifted, I'd say, oh no, I'm just looking to have fun. Like, I'm just looking to have fun. And then they would reiterate, oh, so you're just like a playboy. I say, look, I was in a long-term relationship. I'm out of that for now. I just moved here. I had just moved to LA. I was like, I'm just looking to have a good time. And if a woman knows that you're not going to be disrespectful towards her and you're not going to judge her, a lot of them just want to have a fun time too, especially in LA. And a lot of them are just visiting from other cities. So they're there for a weekend. They want to party. They want to have a great time. And if they think you'll be nice to them, you won't judge them, and you won't be disrespectful towards them, they'll go crazy. They'll, like go party with you and be wild and sleep with you. And, and then go on their way. And they'll value you for the interaction.
Wow, that's great stuff, Tony. Well, I want to respect your time and let you get to your New Year's Eve and go execute the advice that you're given tonight if you're going to do that. But guys, if you enjoyed what Tony spoke about tonight, you could find Tony on Connect. I'll drop the link below, and drop a comment in the comment section if you would like to have Tony on once a week for like a little half-hour segment where we could just talk shit and you guys can ask questions and stuff. But any last words before we go?
Go on, guys. This is your year. Make 2025 your best year ever. Go out, have fun, push yourself as much as possible in this area. By the end, in 3 months from now, you can be living in a totally different, abundant world that better than anything you've ever seen. So I will leave you with that.
The year of repopulating the earth.
Yes. I'll see you later.
All right. Thanks, bro.
Thanks, Brent.
See you later. Bye, guys. And Happy New Year, by the way.